Well, hey guys, it's Hayley Quinn here again, and I'm actually joined, not visually, but sort of like a divine spirit has descended upon us, and here is Asian playboy JT Tran from ABCs of Attraction. Now, I've been chatting to JT a little bit on Facebook, and I realised that a lot of his concepts and ideas I thought had a lot of resonance with what you guys might like to hear about, and so I thought we'd do a little share where we discuss how really as a person you can attract and approach who you want if you get your mindset in the right place. And JT's going to be here just to give you a few tips and techniques about how you can get to a space where you can approach and attract exactly which women you want. So I hope that's a good enough introduction for you, JT.
Thank you so much, Hayley, for having me on here. I absolutely appreciate it. For those of you guys who don't know who I am, I'm like the Asian dating coach out here. And I am like 5'5". I'm very average looking. Now, if you want to imagine Psy, if you ever listen to Gangnam Style, that's who I look like. I'll actually have people like come up to me like, "You're Psy." So I'm a very kind of like average looking Asian guy. And for the longest time, I always had this difficulty believing that girls like me or were attracted to me. Like I didn't have my first girl tell me that I was hot or handsome until I was 24, right? So, you know, I had to fight those limiting beliefs. I had to destroy them in me and realize that, you know, when you have the right attitude and when you're able to project yourself that you can get women. And, you know, I wish, you know, I was tall, dark, and handsome, but I can settle for being short, stunning, and smooth. So one of the biggest tips I have to give you guys is, first off, always Kino, you know, the art of kinesthetics, touching. They've done studies, and this is like why if you go to an Apple store, they want you to touch their products because, you know, they show that like people are willing to pay 60% more for a product they actually touch. So when you are touching a girl, when you approach her, and when I say touching, I mean appropriate touching, not that creepy, crawly type of approaching. You become more real to her. She becomes more invested into you. And then you also want to have reverse Kino. And there are different tactics. And obviously, it's, you know, can't really show it here over audio. But there are ways that you can Kino her and she can Kino you back. And then that way you become more invested into each other. And then another quick tip is I always like to use direct game. Especially if you are not her physical archetype of a guy that she normally goes after. Let's say she's already like the 5'10", good-looking white guy or whatnot, and you're like 5'4", like I am. You always go direct because you want her to evaluate you as a romantic partner, right? Because realistically speaking, a very tall girl is not going to consider a shorter guy as a potential dating partner. Not that she's against it, but it doesn't naturally occur to her. So you want to go up to a girl and go with whatever classic direct line, whether it's "you are beautiful, I'd like to get to know you better," or what I call my kamikaze, which is "you are fucking beautiful." And it works. You know, some of you guys might be like, I don't know, but I've taught thousands of guys around the world, and it completely works. And again, it's very important that to show having the right attitude, but also being able to physically project yourself so that she gets a feel of who you are and that you are not like another typical guy that's coming up to her.
Yeah, I think what's most interesting is I think when you have your intentions really centered and really strong, then that amplifies out and other people get drawn in. I think like men are often mistake thinking that women make up their minds within like 1 second about, you know, whether a guy is their type or not. And I just think that misunderstands female attraction and the power of how you can feel within yourself. I know this is a weird thing to bring into this discussion, but I'm throwing it in there anyway, that when I've had met some guys that I've been working with worrying about whether they're a woman's type or not, because I'm bisexual, I know that I've approached women that are on paper heterosexual, but having a really strong insight into how you see the dynamic of the relationship going, coming from a place of belief where you think, hey, you know what, this person is going to be attracted to me. It's amazing how that transfers to the other person. I also think what's really interesting is when you're thinking about getting that sense, I think most people or most guys operate in a way where they assume that the woman isn't attracted to them unless they get like concrete evidence that she is. And why that all falls down, I think, is that men are not amazing at reading women's signals. Women's signals are very subtle. And so if you're kind of like waiting for a go sign, but you don't know what the sign is, nothing happens. And instead, I think it's much better to just kind of have faith in yourself and work on your esteem to a point where you think, you know what, I'm an amazing person. I'm attracted to her, so I'm going to act on my own initiative and put that across. So it's like a slight different shift. And I think all those little techniques that you were talking about in terms of establishing more contact, being more direct and open, that to a woman, that is like, I say, it's like an oasis in a desert. Even if you might not be the typical guy that she would associate being attractive with, the fact that you've been okay to walk up to her and approach her with such strong intentions. I don't know what it's like out there in LA, but in London I can safely say that is so rare that a man is able to signify himself as a potential sexual partner so clearly that when it actually happens, regardless of, what the guy might, how tall he is or whether he's a bigger or a smaller guy, you're blown away with it. And there's something that's inherently really, really sexy about that. And that sexiness is coming from a person who's really centered within themselves and has strong intentions, not from how tall a person is or whatever. So I 100% believe what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's common out here in LA is like some guys like catcalling, street hollering. Some girls like, "Damn girl, look at your badonkadonk, get over here." Damn it. I mean, it's not true direct. It's not like genuine. When you go direct, you're not trying to protect your ego by a sense of bravado or like, trying to be like too funny about it. I think one quick kind of tactic just to give to your guys is in public speaking and motivational speaking, there's something called the 757 rule. I don't know if you've heard that, but you have 7 seconds to establish a solid first impression. Then you have 5 minutes to solidify that first impression, and then 7 minutes after that to establish the audience, or in this case the girl, establishes a listening pattern. So it's, the nice thing about direct is that you can establish that first impression, but then by your conversation, she starts to look at your presence, look at your frame. If you, like you were saying, like if you believe in yourself, that solidifies that first impression. And then as you converse, then she starts to just get into the conversation and continue to listen and start to interact with you. So that's a quick rule I try to give my guys, because back in the day when I was first starting out, I would like go in and I ask, "Hey, who lies more, girls or guys?" Like one of those ode openers, and they'd answer, and they're like, "Okay, thanks," and then I'd walk away. And I think here it's a nice kind of rule of thumb. I think like 12 minutes, just to, if you can make a strong first impression, solidify it, and then have a conversation where she starts to participate and listen to you. I think that's a good rule of thumb for those of you guys who are beginners.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think also it's important to establish that sincerity right from the start, because I think if you go in with a who lies more, men or women, to me all that says is that you're actually really uncomfortable in your sexuality. And I think that for a woman to want to submit to a man or to see him as a potential romantic interest, she has to feel that she's in the presence of someone who's grounded and comfortable with their sexuality. And I think that direct opener just kind of, it helps a lot just to set the right tone for the rest of the interaction. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to let you get back to your sunny LA time, but I think you're coming to London, is that right? So we get to hang out in actual real life?
Yes, absolutely. Come in September.
Awesome. Okay, well, what do as if you want to check out the link below, guys, I'm sure they'll put up some information about when JT and ABCs of Attraction are going to be in town, and I'll probably Instagram the hell out of our time that we hang out together. But it's been really, really good speaking to you, so thank you very much for joining me. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in September.
All right, see you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.